Well, hello everybody, and welcome to coronavirus video number one, and apparently my new day job. So, uh, hey, now that I'm a streamer, make sure you click like and subscribe. Huh? No, actually, can't get paid for that. So, we're going to be doing the second half of chapter 11 here, and this starts the statistics part of the chapter. So there's two things we're going to be doing in this section. The first one is that we are going to be able to find measures of central tendency and we are going to create box and whisker plots. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different things in this section. And I'll just kind of go through and fill out the notes with you guys together. So if you've got your own notes ready in front of you, let's get started. All right, first thing is we're going to talk about the range. So the range is how far it is from the smallest number to the biggest number. And on this particular set that we're looking at, the smallest number is 2 and the largest number is 9. So our range is going to go from 9 minus 2, which is 7. And if you can figure out how far it is from 2 to 9 in your head, that's certainly fine too. But this is the way you're going to write it out. Okay, the next thing is when we talk about frequencies. So the frequency of a data set is how often it occurs. And a frequency table is something that we commonly use to show how many things are in a certain set of numbers. Now, this one's broken up with even intervals. And if you look, it's given to you already. And 68 to 70 is the first set of numbers. And if I'm looking at these, 68 to 70 has 3 numbers. So that's what we put in our frequency. 71 to 73 would be right there, and that has 4 numbers. 74 to 76 has a bunch, looks like 5. And then 77 to 79 has 2. And then 80 to 82 has 1. And then that would be a frequency table. Okay, moving on. Let's make a frequency table together. Okay, the number of days of Maria's last 15 vacations are listed below. 15 vacations? I wish I got to do 15 vacations. Make a frequency table of those that have intervals of 3 days apart. Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is put all the numbers in order. And let me pick a little bit thinner of a line here. Looks like I got to write smaller. Oops. Okay. So, 4. I'm going to cross them off as I go so I don't accidentally reuse them. And then it looks like there's a 5. Now, this is just a minor detail, but if you have trouble keeping all the numbers organized, I like writing them underneath the other ones so I know when I write all of the numbers out. And I don't see any more 5s. I do see 1 6, 2 6s. So we've got a 6 and a 6. So 6, 6. We've got a 7. And I see an 8. Oh, I almost missed a 7 there. And that's why we cross them off. So we've got an 8 and an 8. So 8 and an 8. And then we've got a 10 and a 10. And we've got 12, 14, 15, 17. Okay, so we've got them in order. And make a frequency table with intervals that are 3 days. Well, I'm going to start with my smallest one. So the first set of intervals is going to be 4, 5, and 6. That would be 3 days. So I'm going to have 4 through 6. And then I would have 7, 8, and 9, 7 through 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And if you can kind of follow the patterns, you can certainly just go with that. 16 to 18. Okay, frequency. So 4 to 6. Looks like I got a bunch of them. So I've got 5 different vacations that were from 4 days to 6 days long. That's a terrible 5. Let's do that one. So 5. 7 to 9. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 vacations that were 7 and 9 days. 10 to 12. Looks like there were 3 of them. 13 to 15. Well, there isn't a 13, but that's okay. 14, 15 are 2 of them. And then she had 1 vacation that was 17 days long. So there's our frequency table. And then, I mean, looking at it, it kind of shows that majority of her vacations are, 4 to 9 days long. All right. Now, a lot of times, those frequency tables can be drawn as graphs. And the most common one would be a histogram because it matches up nicely with the frequency table. So a histogram is a bar graph that shows intervals. And the height of your bar is just going to be however many are in that interval. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my intervals that match up with my frequency table. So I've got 4 to 6 days, 7 to 9 days, 10 to 12, 13 to 15, 16 to 18. And then on the side is my frequency. And we can number these if we want. And it works out pretty good just to go by ones. And my first bar is going to be 5 high because Maria had 5 vacations that were, that was rough. 5 vacations that were 4 to 6 days. And then it was 4 vacations that were 7 to 9 days. And then 3, 2, and 1. And then this would be the histogram that matches up with that frequency table. All right. Next thing, really common that you guys have used many times, is the mean. So the mean is the average. And that is kind of the normal thing that gets used a lot. Now, I don't see it written anywhere, but if you ever see X with a bar above it, that's going to be the symbol for mean or average. So we've got some numbers here that we're going to find the average of, or the mean. So X bar, what we do is we're going to add them up and then divide by however many numbers there are. So I've got 3 plus 8 plus 4, and yes, you could put them in order if you wanted to. 6, 5, 4. I'm going to divide, oh God. Let's see, is there an undo? There is an undo button. That was a terrible line. Divided by 6 numbers. And if I add those all up, it looks like they add up to 30. So I'm going to take 30 divided by 6, which would be 5. So my mean or my average would be 5. Now, another set of information that kind of talks about the middle of the numbers a lot of times is the median. And average is what a lot of people think of when they think of kind of the middle. But the median is actually going to be the middle number. So the only way you can find the middle number is if they're in order, though. So that's always going to have to be the first thing we do. And again, this one does have a symbol as well. If you ever see X with a squiggly above it, that's the symbol for median. So we're supposed to find the median for these 7 numbers. And let me move that down a little bit. So putting them in order, we've got 2, 3, 4. There's 2 4s, 5, 6, and 8. Okay. Now, having 7 numbers, it's probably small enough where you can just look and know the middle number's 4. But if there are a lot of numbers, you might have seen this trick earlier, when you were younger. But a nice way to do it is just kind of mark off numbers as you go. So I've got a pair of numbers there, and then I've got a pair of numbers here, and then I've got a pair of numbers here. And you kind of just keep marking in towards the middle until you get to the middle number. So in this case, 4 is the middle number, so the median would be 4. Now, this is if there's an odd number of numbers. It's much easier when there's an odd number of them. If you have an even number of numbers, then you have to do it slightly different. So we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're already in order. And if I start marking off the middle, which again, you can probably already see where the middle is. Well, what we find is there is no exact middle number. The middle is actually going to be right in between 7 and 8. And if you know that that's 7.5, that's you could do that in your head, that's good. Otherwise, the way that you find the middle is you add them up and you divide by 2. So in this case, it'd be 15 divided by 2, which would be 7.5. So our median would be 7.5. Okay, mode. The last measure of central tendency. Again, they kind of need to be in order because it makes it easier to find the information. So if I put them in order, I've got 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Okay. Now the mode is just the most common number on there. And in this case, 4 is the most common number because it's the only one that has 2 of them. Now, 4 is going to be our mode. That one's easy enough to just write. Where some people start to get confused is if there's a tie. And so let's say there were 2 8s. If there were 2 8s, then my mode would be 4 and 8. You can have more than one mode as long as they're tied. If there's a third 8, well, then the mode would just be 8 and not 4, even though these were the only sets of numbers that had multiples. And that's just because 8 would be the most common. And then the other thing that can happen, which doesn't happen often, is it's also possible to not have a mode. Like if there were only 1 4, every number on here would only happen once, and then you would just say that there is no mode. But this one was 4. Okay, now the last part, the box and whisker plots, which I kind of think are fun to draw. But to be able to draw them, you have to find out a lot of information. And, well, let's just go with it from there. So, box and whisker plots are going to be made with quartiles. And what that means is you're going to break up your numbers into quarters or into 4. So no matter how many numbers you have, you're going to break it up into 4 even parts. The first step to do that is you need to find the middle. So I've got 1 and 9 paired off. I've got 2 and 8 paired off because this one's got way too many numbers for me to even figure out the middle. So I'm going to just kind of start pairing them off. And then I get to the middle and I find out 5 is the median, okay? So that's one of these answers. And then I'm going to, all of the numbers after the median and all of the numbers before the median, those are going to be the first half and the second half. And if you want to break something up into 4, well, the easiest way to do it is to find the middle and then take the middle of the other halves. So the middle of the first half. If you want to start pairing them off again, you can. If you can see it, that'd be great. I'm old. I've got old eyes. Okay, it looks like 3 is the middle of the first half. Second half, I am going to pair them off, and it looks like 7 is the middle of the second half. And then this is broken up into 4 even parts. And you can kind of see that each part has 3 numbers in it. Well, they also usually label the smallest number and the biggest number. And then having this broken up into parts, this is going to be called the minimum. This is the maximum, which you're probably used to those terms. We've already talked about this is called the median. And then the middle of the first half, they call the first quartile. And most people call that Q1. The median is technically the second quartile, but they don't call it that. The middle of the second half would be the third quartile, and technically the max is the fourth quartile, but we use Q1 and Q3 because those are really the only names for those spots. And that would be the 5-number summary is what they often call that. Now from the 5-number summary, often you're going to find something called the inner quartile range, which is kind of the middle sets of numbers right here. And the inner quartile range is how far it is from Q1 to Q3. So from this example, which is down here, the inner quartile range of this data, we would take quartile 3, which is 7, and then minus quartile 1, which is 3. And then that tells me my inner quartile range has a length of 4 numbers. And that just kind of tells you how dense the numbers are, I guess. Like if my inner quartile range was only 1 number, that would tell me that I have a whole bunch of numbers that are all pretty much exactly the same together. Okay. Now, if you want, pause the video and try to find this information for this sets of numbers. Okay, so let me find this info. So look, first thing, median. The median is right in between 3 and 6. Well, the median, I'm going to add the 2 of them. I'm going to get 9 divided by 2, which would be 4.5. So the median is 4.5. The first half, 1, 2, and 3. Second half, 6, 10, 12. Quartile 1 is the middle of the first half, which is 2. Quartile 3, the middle of the second half. So quartile 1 would be 2, quartile 3 would be 10. My interquartile range would be 8. All right, nice. And then last thing is called a box and whisker plot. And I kind of already started talking about it a little before. It's a graph that shows you the 5-number summary. So it shows you, it's a picture. It shows you how close the numbers are to each other. Now, if you can see from this picture, what we're going to do is we're going to label the 5-number summary. We're going to start by finding the median, then by finding the middle of the first half, middle of the second half, and then identifying the smallest number and biggest number. And that creates the box and whisker plot. Okay, we're going to do it for these numbers, and it looks, are they in order? They are not in order, so I better put them in order. Okay, so it looks like I've got 68, I've got 71, I've got a bunch of 71s. And then I've got a 72, 73, 74, 74, 75, 77, and 79. Okay. Looking through here, first thing, the mean, the median, and the mode. Okay. the mean. Well, to figure out that one, I have to add all of these up. So let me grab my calculator. And if I add them all up, it looks like they add up to 805. And then there are 11 numbers, so I'm going to divide by the number of numbers. And that would give me 73.18. So my average is 73.18 x bar. And then the median, the middle number, okay, this one I can do, so I gotta count. So 68 and 79, 71, 77, 71, 75, 71 and 74, 72 and 74, and it looks like my middle number is 73. So 73 is my median. My mode is the most common, and it looks like 71 has 3 of them. 74 has 2 of them, so 71 is the mode. My 5-number summary for the box and whisker plots, median would be 73. Ooh, middle of the first half. So here is my first half, everything before the median. Second half is everything after the median. And if I want to mark them off, I can, but I can see that 71 is the middle, 75 is the middle. So that's my quartiles. And then my smallest number is 68, biggest number is 79. And I believe, nope, where'd that go? Looks like I've got a drought right down here. So I need to make a number line that goes from 68 to 79 at least. So I'm going to do the best that I can on this. Okay, and I'm going to kind of mark it 50, 60, 70, 80. And I'll kind of put little half markers for 55, 65, 75. And if I wanted to put individual lines, I absolutely could do that. So 68 is the smallest number. You know what? I think I'll go a little bit farther to help show. Okay, so 68. So we've got 65, 66, 67, 68, 68. 71, 73, 75, and 79. All right. Now, the box from the box and whisker is made up with these middle 3 numbers. And then you put a line through the median. The whiskers show how far out it goes to the beginning and end. And then I've seen some places put a line on the end, and other places not put that line on the end. So it's kind of up to you. But that would be the box and whisker plots. And that is the end of the first section.